gives new meaning to Boys in the Hood. We'll be back with Mr. Rogers. Can we talk about kids just for a minute, kids today? You know, we all grew up with you, and I see things going on out there, kind of worries me. I wish more people would watch Mr. Rogers instead of some of the things you see going on. I had a kid tell me the other day, I said, be good, you don't want to end up in a box. And he told me, he said, hey, I'm already dead, brother. There's an attitude out there, there's some things going on, there's a lot of hopelessness. What do we need to do?
Weighs heavy on all of us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And there's no simple answer, of course. But if we could, through television programs, as well as every other imaginable program, let people know that each one of us is precious. Let everybody know that we have value in this life.
It all starts in the home. We can never underrate how important that is to our young people. But I think all of us just have to do one thing with one person. If we all take one kid and say, I'm gonna make sure he gets through it, I think that could make the difference. But we all have to get involved and realize that there is a problem without a riot coming north of Wilshire, you know?
And always to look for the helpers. My mother always told me, look for the helpers. You know, the news is always so awful. But there are times when people will come right around the corner and do something wonderful for somebody.
It's a perfect guest for the night and a perfect audience to receive him. This is Mr. Rogers.
My grandfather's name was Mr. McFeely, and I always remember he said to me, you've made this day a special day, Freddie, by just your being yourself. And that's always been with me.
Mr. Rogers' neighborhood includes a much larger audience than children's television viewers. His core message, accept everyone for who they are, has won him universal acclaim.
You're welcome in this neighborhood. Why in the world couldn't we use this thing called television for the broadcasting of grace through the land? Do you know that song that I sometimes sing called It's You I Like? Uh-huh. It's you I like. It's not the things you wear. It's not the way you do your hair. But it's you I like. The way you are right now. The way down deep inside you. Not the things that I do. Not your fancy chair. That's just beside you. It's you I like. And it is you I like, Jeff.
Thanks.
I do think that it takes a certain amount of courage to be able to tell his feelings. He's been liberated for a long, long time, almost as long as I've known him. And I think other men might like very much to be that way.
We're all on a journey, each one of us. And if we can be sensitive to the person who happens to be our neighbor, that to me is the greatest challenge as well as the greatest pleasure. Because if you're trusted and people will allow you to share their inner garden with them, what greater gift?
Ladies and gentlemen, the best neighbor any of us has ever had, Fred Rogers. giving generation upon generation of children confidence in themselves, for being their friend, for telling them again and again and again that they are special and that they have worth. It is my honor, on behalf of everyone here and on behalf of the millions of children whose mornings you have brightened with your kindness, to present you with this Lifetime Achievement Award.
Oh, it's a beautiful night in this neighborhood. So many people have helped me to come to this night. Some of you are here, some are far away, some are even in heaven. All of us have special ones who have loved us into being. Would you just take, along with me, 10 seconds to think of the people who have helped you become who you are? Those who have cared about you and wanted what was best for you in life. 10 seconds of silence. I'll watch the time. Whomever you've been thinking about, how pleased they must be to know the difference you feel they've made. You know, they're the kind of people television does well to offer our world. Special thanks to my family and friends, and to my co-workers in public broadcasting, family communications, and this academy for encouraging me, allowing me all these years to be your neighbor. May God be with you.
It's a very fancy machine,
Thank you.
but you're the one who makes it go.
Right.
Did it take a long time to learn how?
No, not really. I had other wheelchairs, and that only took... My first electric wheelchair only took me about a day to learn how to use it.
Gee, that's wonderful. Jeff, your mom and dad must be really proud of you.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah. Well, I know I am. Now, can you tell my friends what it is that made you need this wheelchair?
Sure. Well, when I was about 7 months old, I had a tumor, and it broke the nerves to tell my hands and legs what to do.
I see.
And they tried to cut the tumor, but they couldn't get it, and I became handicapped. And I got a wheelchair when I was 4 years old.
That was your first one
Mm-hmm.
when you were 4.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, sort of.
You must have some mighty good doctors who've been taking care of
Uh-huh.
you. Can you tell me any of your doctors' names?
Yeah, I have a pediatrician, Dr. Hansen, who works in Madison St. Mary's Hospital. And then at UW, I have the bone doctor is Dr. Breed, who takes care of the bones, I guess, because he's a
guess
bone
so.
doctor.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, I had surgery earlier this summer because I have pain in my stomach called autonomic dysreflexia, and I just
What was that word?
autonomic dysreflexia. I'm not exactly sure what it means.
But you sure can say it.
Yeah. Anyway, so I had a surgery done just recently to try and cut the sphincter because it was holding my urine in.
Mhm.
So Well, you have a lot of things going on when you're... This just shows you have a lot of things happen to you when you're handicapped most of the time.
But,
And sometimes it happens when you're not handicapped.
Of course. But you're able to talk about those things.
Yeah.
So well and help other people who might have the same kinds of things. Do you know that song that I sometimes sing called It's You I Like? I'd like to sing that to you and with you.
Okay, sure.
It's you I like. It's not the things you wear. It's not the way you do your hair. But it's you I like. The way you are right now. The way down deep inside you. Not the things that
hide you.
Not your fancy chair. That's just beside you. But it's you I like. Every part of you. Your skin, your eyes, your feelings. Whether old or new. I hope that you'll remember, even when you're feeling blue, that it's you I like. It's you yourself. It's you. It's you I like. And it is you I like, Jeff.
Thanks.
And there must be times when you do feel blue. What do you do during those times?
Well, it depends.
Sometimes do you make up stories
Yeah,
or read
yeah.
or play? I know that's the way I did when I was a little boy. Had all kinds of things that I would do.
Did it help?
It did help, yeah. Does it help you?
Yeah.
We have to all discover our own ways, don't we, of doing things when we're feeling blue. I'm not feeling blue right now, though.
Me neither.
I'm so glad that you came today.
Thanks.
Thank you. And I hope you'll come back to visit again.
Okay.
Will you?
Yeah.
And will you give your mom and dad my best?
Sure.
Because they are sure great people.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Jeff. I'll watch you as you go.
Please welcome Jeffrey Erlinger.
It is quite hard. I'm so glad to see you.
Oh, thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
Oh,
It is,
what a surprise.
It's an honor to be here tonight, to be part of your proud this proud moment. You know, when you tell people that it's you I like, we know that you really mean it. And tonight, I want to let you know that on behalf of millions of children and grown-ups, it is you that I like.
Will you support me as I say my few words?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, to Jeff Erlinger and all of the wonderful neighbors who have grown up with our neighborhood, this was, of course, completely unexpected, and what a wonderful gift. And I thank the Academy for allowing this to happen. Jeff and I haven't been together for a while. We met when he was, I think, 4 years old. Five. Such good neighbors. Well, this is what I wanted to tell you before I knew that I'd have this great gift tonight. Fame is a 4-letter word. And like tape or Zoom or face or pain or life or love, what ultimately matters is what we do with it. I feel that those of us in television are chosen to be servants. It doesn't matter what our particular job. We are chosen to help meet the deeper needs of those who watch and listen, day and night. The conductor of the orchestra at the Hollywood Bowl grew up in a family that had little interest in music, but he often tells people he found his early inspiration from the fine musicians on television. Last month, a 13-year-old boy abducted an 8-year-old girl, and when people ask him why, he said he learned about it on TV. Something different to try, he said. Life's cheap. What does it matter? Well, life isn't cheap. It's the greatest mystery of any millennium, and television needs to do all it can to broadcast that, to show and tell what the good in life is all about. But how do we make goodness attractive? By doing whatever we can to bring courage to those whose lives move near our own, by treating our neighbor at least as well as we treat ourselves, and allowing that to inform everything that we produce. Who in your life has been such a servant to you? Who has helped you love the good that grows within you? Let's just take 10 seconds to think of some of those people who have loved us and wanted what was best for us in life. Those who have encouraged us to become who we are tonight. Just 10 seconds of silence. I'll watch the time. No matter where they are, either here or in heaven. Imagine how pleased those people must be to know that you thought of them right now. We all have only one life to live on earth, and through television, we have the choice of encouraging others to demean this life or to cherish it in creative, imaginative ways. On behalf of all of us at Family Communications and the Public Broadcasting Service, I thank you for all the good that you do in this unique enterprise and for wanting our neighborhood to be a part of this celebration tonight. Thank you very much.
The Presidential Medal of Freedom is the highest civil honor our nation can bestow. And we award it today to 12 outstanding individuals. The men and women we honor span the spectrum of achievement. Some are fighters, others are healers. All have left an enduring legacy of hope and courage and achievement. Fred Rogers has proven that television can soothe the soul and nurture the spirit, and teach the very young. The whole idea, says the beloved host of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, is to look at the television camera and present as much love as you possibly could to a person who needs it. This message of unconditional love has won Fred Rogers a very special place in the heart of a lot of moms and dads all across America.
Fred McFeely Rogers. Fred Rogers has entertained and educated children for more than 30 years through his extraordinary public television program, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. His program helps children understand caring, safety, and respect for others, and his legendary commitment to young people has been an enriching part of American life. The United States honors Fred Rogers for his dedication to the well-being of children, his faith, his family, and his community, and for a career that demonstrates the importance of kindness, compassion, and learning.
The crew here at WQED has seen a lot of changes over the years, especially in local television, but somehow Fred Rogers has stood the test of time. Mr. Rogers' co-workers and crew will attest to that, and they should know because they knew Fred Rogers from the very beginning.
It takes a great deal of courage to be yourself, to allow the world to see the vulnerabilities, the times when you can't learn things well, the times when you... Fred used to say, all I can give is my honest self, and then let people use it as they will. That's a gift to give your honest self.
It was very strange, first of all, working in a neighborhood of make-believe. And then you got completely used to it, and you'd talk to puppets, and they would answer you in the puppet voice.
Meow, meow, exciting, meow, meow, see you, meow, meow, festival. See you later. Meow, 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 meow.
And you'd, spending a whole day in there, you'd really get into the whole mindset, you know. His songs really, you hear them over and over again, they really go in, you know. It really means something. I like you just the way you are. It was like having a therapy session.
There was one incident where personally, I put Kleenex. I brought in a pair of loafers, because Fred always, of course, wears loafers, and I just stuck some tissue in the loafers, and we put it on the set, my shoes instead of Fred's. It just worked out that he was wearing maroon loafers that day too, and he tried to get, we rolled tape like usual, and he did this a little bit, and he tried to get his foot in, and I know that in the man's head he's thinking, okay, these are my shoes, why isn't this working? And then he finally caught on to it, and he just laughed, and we had a good time and moved on.
He was an incredibly close friend. He was a boss, he was a mentor, he was a teacher, but you know, he was a true friend. He daily was able to inspire all of us. And even in his death, he is still very much alive.
Oh boy. He was a good friend. Over and above a good employer, he was a good friend. And what he meant most to me was a sense of humor. That's what I remember most about Fred. He could make me laugh, and we'd make each other laugh, and he had such a great sense of humor, whimsical sense of humor, not tell you 15 jokes, just very whimsical. And for instance, when the cameras would go down or the tape would break or something that happened in the studio, they'd say, okay, Fred, one more time. And that became a little message between the two of us. It then became, we'd be greeting each other. Fred would just walk in the morning, he'd see me and go, or he'd peek his head around my office door and go, meaning good day, hello, how are you? It became just a tradition with us. And in fact, on the cover of Pittsburgh Magazine, when we taped our last episode, there we were, McFeely and Fred doing that. So he meant so much to me.
We've lost a key member, our leader. In a lot of ways, he set the tone for this building. You know, when we've had turmoil in this building and things were not going well, Fred was always the calming force in the building. I could always go down to his office when a lot of things were going on around us and go sit in his office for a half hour, talk to him about things, and feel a sense of calm and also a sense of strength.
In your lifetime, you only meet so many people you feel there's something special about. And he was definitely one of the people I regard as being special. And it was just an honor and a pleasure to work with him and for him.
A couple years ago, my dad passed away. Fred was away for the summer in Nantucket. And he called me at my house. And he talked to me for about a half an hour. I mean, we talked about a lot of things, but he just talked to me and made me feel good to know that there was a friend that was close and caring, and somebody especially like Fred. You know, if anybody could make you feel better about what was happening around you, it was Fred.
My wife was sick for a long time, and Fred would call me on the phone many evenings and talk to me prior to my wife's death and just support me through that. And after Holly had died, he would continue to call me periodically and email me just to be a great support through that entire time.
I was in the elevator once and this guy came in. He was a bike messenger and he was fully pierced here. He had 5 in the ear, like 1 across here, 1 in his septum. And he and I were on the elevator together and Fred stepped on and the guy took 1 look at him and was instantly reduced to 5 years old and rompers and said, "Hi, Mr. Rogers." And Fred talked to him and shook his hand and told him he must worked really hard riding a bicycle and how dangerous it was and to be careful because, you know, bike messengers get hurt a lot. And then he got off the elevator and the guy turned to me and said, "That was Mr. Rogers." And I was like, "I know." But he could reduce the toughest person in the world to like a 5-year-old without condescension or being small, but he just went right to the little kid part of you and recognized it and could talk to it. And not a lot of people can do that.
Got married and my wife had a baby boy, and we were taping Fred's show that day. So of course I went to the hospital at 4 a.m. and my wife delivered the baby, and I left her at the hospital and went back to the studio, and they said, "Go back to the hospital with your wife. We'll manage all right without you today, Art." I was one of the 3 cameramen. And Fred got a hold of me and he came over and he said, "Now you're gonna really enjoy life." And you know, he was absolutely right, because that son now is grown and I have a granddaughter by that son. And now I'm really enjoying life. So Fred was absolutely right. That was the start of fun in my life. Thanks, Fred.
My daughter, when she was 3 years old, was on the show. But this morning, 7:30, she was getting ready for school. And she came running into my bedroom crying and woke me up. And I said to her, I said, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And she said, "Mr. Rogers died." And, you know, I immediately woke up and hugged her. And then we had a talk because, you know, I kind of expressed to her that she was blessed to have, and lucky to have, been fortunate to know him.
He was genuine. He loved his audience, and he could pour it into the camera, and we all loved him back. We always will.
Today, the studios, the halls here at WQED are quiet, but you know, heaven is a much nicer place since Fred Rogers arrived.
Hello, I'm Chris Moore, host of Off Cue. Tonight we're taking a different approach to the show. Instead of hearing from our regular panelists, Fred Hansberger, Alan Cox, and Ruth Ann Daly, who will be back, by the way, next week, we are dedicating the entire half hour to the memory of Mr. Fred Rogers. We'll hear entertaining stories from some of the people who knew him best, next on Off Cue. Welcome to Off Cue, where we usually discuss a variety of topics, but tonight there is only one thing that we want to talk about, and that's the life of Fred Rogers. Let's get started and meet our guest. Bill Eisler of Family Communications Incorporated. Betsy Siemens, also with Family Communications, and David Newell, otherwise known as Mr. McFeely of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Welcome to the program, all of you. I have to tell you, in these last few days, there's been a lot of stress, a lot of sadness. I know you're all familiar with it, but there's been so much laughter, too, about the life and times of a man. And I'm hearing so many stories. I'm hoping that you all can set the record straight on some of them. For instance, how long have you two been married?
To which husband and wife?
But that's an ongoing theme about this thing, because Betsy was Mrs. McFeely and you were Mr. McFeely on the show, on the program. Did it ever cause any confusion?
Well, sometimes, yes. My wife, who's about the height, her name is Nan, is about the height of Betsy.
And we were friends before we were married. Any of us was married to each other. So
And she always get you're on the program. Yes, I see you on the program too, to my wife, and they think it's Betsy, but that's the confusion. But we straighten it out.
Straighten it all out.
Yes.
I've also, Bill, heard stories about once upon a time there was a monkey on the show.
We can talk about outtakes. We can talk about outtakes forever. There was one last night where Jimmy Seach, switching Fred's loafers to Jimmy Seach's. Great outtakes, but one of my favorites is when it involved Mrs. McFeely. I think you should tell us about the day that you brought the monkey into to Fred's house.
Well, actually, the sad part was that I helped work on this script. And I always had a thing for chimpanzees, and one of the things you could do was when you were working on the program, ever since I was a little kid, so I wrote in, Mrs. McFeely has a chimpanzee come visit their house. Do you remember this?
In the backyard, McFeely's backyard, which had a lot of green grass.
AstroTurf. Plastic flowers everywhere, and plastic leaves on the trees.
Oh boy, he bends that tree way down, doesn't he?
Surely does.
Oh, David's not going to be happy about that. Come on, Jay.
And they brought this little chimpanzee over from the zoo. Only between the time that we'd arranged for the chimpanzee to come and the time that it actually came, it had sort of gone from childhood into adolescence. And it had become basically a really vicious little animal. And none of us knew this. And we started in, but we all, you didn't want to waste tape and you didn't want to waste studio time. Right? Expensive studio.
You had a budget.
We were on a budget. So the chimpanzee came out and I started to pet it or feed it a little something, and it glommed onto my knee and started to gnaw on my kneecap, I believe.
It did, I did.
And I kept trying to talk to, well, Mr. Rogers, he's a really friendly little chimpanzee. Come on, you want to see Mr. Rogers?
Would you come over here? Come on. No, he just wants to hug your leg.
And meanwhile, this thing was digging in, and Fred, who had a pretty good sense of humor, and he knew I wasn't getting hurt, but he could see that I was scared to death, just stood there and said, well, Mrs. McFeely, this chimpanzee is really fond of you, and then finally, it was cut.
I think I hear Mrs. Willie coming.
Oh, do you?
This is McFeely.
And the chimpanzee went back, and we tried to talk through it, and we all actually finally had this on the Dick Clark.
Yeah, one of the outtake programs.
It was on Dick Clark's outtakes, but the final, it bit your ankle, and you screamed, and that was the end. And then it jumped up to the light fixtures and swung from light fixture to light fixture, and we couldn't use the tape at all except for an outtake.
Oh my goodness, that could have destroyed the lighting and everything. I'm swinging from the grid.
But I think a little postscript to that is that we rehearsed with the chimp with the lights down. And we turned the studio lights up for the take, and I think that had something to do with it too. So all those combinations.
But one of the other things Betsy mentioned in this discussion was about not stopping tape. And again, because of the budget, PBS, there's not a lot of money. Fred did not like to stop and start again, and that was.
We all knew that we were going to carry on no matter what, and through a lot of things.
Yes, through a lot of things. There was a time. Fred has a great sense of humor. I think what I miss most about Fred is his sense of humor. It was very whimsical too. And there's another scene in the McFeely house. I don't know if you remember this. That Fred, there was a front porch to Mr. McFeely's house, and Fred came over for milk and cookies, and that was starting the scene. And then we were going to talk about something that I had there. So Fred took a sip of milk, and this was not in the script. And he looked at me. He said, "That's very good, Mr. McFeely. Do you have a cow?" And it was not. I said, "Where is that coming from?" and he was, I think, he was seeing how I could get out of this. And I somehow said, "Well, yes, I do." I made up a story about having a cow. There's a barn in the back, and we got through the scene. And we took it, and somehow we got through it. So the next day, I think, or the next week, he had to write in that McFeely's had a cow. Remember?
And then we got a cow.
Then we got a cow.
And then I had to milk the cow.
You had all the great experiences with the animals, huh, Betsy? It was that whimsical sense of humor that everybody talks about. David, I believe you told me when I was interviewing you the other day that his sense of humor was whimsical. It wasn't, tell 15 jokes in a row, bam, 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 take my wife, please. It was just a sense of whimsy about the world and his everyday observances.
Yes, Fred, I think I told you about the one more. You've used that somewhere, but I'll tell you one more time for your audience that when the tape would break or something would happen, they would say, "Okay, Fred, one more take. And they would do it, and that became a sort of a password between the two of us, and we'd see each other in the morning. He'd put up his finger one more, and it became a greeting. And it's Fred's just sense, and he doesn't forget things like that. He kept.
Well, he didn't forget it. And the other thing is, we used to try to catch him off guard all the time. I mean, one of the stories that I tell is dealing with Joanne, his wife, and I call her Mother. And it comes from a time we were in New York at a black tie event, and Fred used to always say, and this is my wife, Joanne Bird Rogers, and this is Bill Eisler at that time. I was Vice President of Family Communications, and I was just, I heard it 40 times. So he said, "This is my wife, Joanne Bird Rogers," and I stuck my hand out, and I said, "Hi, I'm Bill Eisler, I'm Joanne's son by her first marriage." And she didn't even stop. She said, "And we are so proud of everything he's accomplished." And Fred is like, no, and so that became, he said, when we walked out of it, he says, "Well, you can just go home with your mother." I mean, you couldn't get Fred. I mean, he really would come back at you, and he had a great sense of humor all the time. But we used to have fun in the office. We have office stories too. He used to tell, he used to answer the phone sometimes. I just told George Mouses the other day that I had just started here, and it was a holiday. There was nobody here. And the phone started to ring, and he said, "Should I answer the phone?" And I said, "Yes." And he answered it in one of the puppet voices. And he looks at me, and his eyes got real big. He went, "It's Elsie Hillman." So he sort of carried through. I mean, he never stopped. I don't know if Elsie remembers that, but he'd be at your house and answer the phone in a puppet voice. But he just all the time.
One of the things they say was his memory. He didn't forget birthdays. He didn't forget almost anything about your personal life, your children. Betsy, your children grew up in the building, in the neighborhood, didn't they?
The first thing I remember when I came out of the delivery room when Annie was born was Fred Rogers was standing in the corridor, and he walked me to my room, and he was with me when Joe was there too. But Fred, I think, and Sam Newberry, and he had been waiting at McGee Hospital, and he was there the whole way, visiting the kids. He sometimes used to show up on Christmas morning with a little something for the kids.
And I have a similar story. I was in a hospital for a parathyroid operation, and Fred, my wife had to take our one son to the doctor, and so when I went in the delivery room, and
where the doctor's amazed. Side of you we don't know.
Into the operating room, apparently Fred stayed, and the first person I saw when I came out of the
anesthesia
was Fred, and said, "Everything's fine, David, I'm going to go now." And he left, and my wife hadn't come back yet. So
at the beginning of that story is even better. When you were in a hospital and they knew you were going to have surgery, he said to everybody, "This is Mr. McFeely.
Yes.
Don't do anything, because we need Mr. McFeely back."
Well, what was that like playing Mr. McFeely next to Mr. Rogers all those years? I mean, you two were were very close together, not only in characters on the show, but in private life too.
Yeah, I love doing Mr. McFeely, and I think Fred enjoyed. This is another part of his sense of humor. I'm not a very good singer, but I'll try. And Fred wrote 2 songs called a Speedy Delivery Patter song. And it took me a while, and the crew always used to enjoy when I first get a new song. It would take me a few times to get the notes right. And I don't think I ever got them totally right. And Fred knew I would not get them right. It's probably hurting his ears because he had perfect pitch. But I could see him when I would be, Speedy Delivery to You, I'd be singing it. I could see him out of the side of my eyes chuckling and sort of enjoying me going through this song.
Well, that's what you'll get. That's what you'll get. A speedy, speedy delivery. A speedy, 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 speedy delivery.
Thank you, Mr. McFeely.
Well, you're quite welcome. You want to do a duet?
Oh.
Okay, here we go.
That's what you'll get. That's what you'll get.
A speedy, speedy delivery. A speedy, 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 speedy delivery. Well, I'm on my way. I have more pickups and deliveries.
But it was when we were doing the scenes, I would make a lot of deliveries to the interior of the house. It was wonderful. I could feel him enjoying that part. I really enjoyed the give and take of those scenes. It was wonderful memories.
I have to tell you too that the sight of David would just make Fred Rogers smile. All David had to do was be within his eyesight, and you could just see Fred light up. He felt safe, and David made him laugh.
In this, and I felt that too. In some way, I don't know if I just felt good when I came into the room. Once we had our lines down, and because we didn't have much rehearsal, we would walk through it once, and then we'd try taping it. And if we're lucky, as Bill said, we couldn't afford to go back, and it was precious studio time, so we would do the best we can. But we had great time. I think the best time of all was working with Fred in those scenes throughout the years. Oh, and one time, this goes to the cow, back to this cow story. We taped the cow story separately, and then we did the entrance where Fred would come in first, and then the next scene would be where we were with the cow. So as I was standing there, and Fred started the scene. I said, don't forget about the cow, just as he was going in the door. And he got halfway through the Beautiful Day Neighbors and started to laugh. And laughed, and they kept going. He just kept laughing, and finally they had to stop. But that just hit him, it just hit his sense of whimsy about the cow, because we had gone through the scene of the week before.
One of the things that's happened since Fred's death is that so many emails have come into the family communication site, and one of them that I can remember people talking about was how so many people, young people, really appreciated going out into various venues and seeing how things were made. Mm-hmm. That was another thing that people talk about. And I know you all have gotten so many emails and letters and cards and bouquets of flowers and that sort of stuff. Were there any things that have really impressed you in all of that, Bill, that's come in the last couple of days?
It's overwhelming. And we're hearing from people that we have, and I got a call today from somebody that Fred and I had worked on a publishing project with. I haven't seen him in 12 years. He called and said, I told him the last time we were together, we knew where we were, we knew what it was about. It's just overwhelming, the people that he touched, in the way the responses are coming back to us now. I mean, we're hearing from people it's amazing.
As you said 12 years ago, I'm doing the same thing. I'm getting emails from people that we've worked with over the years. I got a great call today from Bob McGrath from Sesame Street, who called, and he just heard about it. He was in Vancouver. And we got an email, or I got an email from David Hartman, that's where Fred first met. David Hartman was on the Good Morning America.
That's a good story to tell, though. Fred did not watch a lot of television. I mean, contrary to popular belief, he was not up on a lot of people who were in television. Right. And Fred and David were in New York at a hotel. And this gentleman came over and said, "Excuse me, Mr. Rogers, I hate to interrupt you, but my 3 sons have grown up with you. Would you come over to meet them?" And Fred went over and he talked to the family as he always would, spent about 5-10 minutes. He came back and David is excited. He says, Fred, you know who that is?" He said, "Yes, it's Mr. and Mrs. Hartman and their 3 sons." David says, "No, it's the David Hartman from Good Morning America." Fred says, "Well, he's a very nice man and it's a very nice family," and off they went. Now they have become very close friends over the years, and I think it's pretty typical when we would see people and they would come up to Fred and he would always be very kind to them. But sometimes you would have to sort of whisper in the back of his ear who they were because he just didn't watch a lot of television.
Well, was it also difficult? Was it a disruption? Because I said on another program, having worked here 22 years, if I had a visitor in the building, it could be my mom, it could be a young student that I was working with, it could be anybody who, here on business talking about a program. If we were walking down the halls and bumped into Fred, he would stop and talk to him forever, like he had nothing else in the world to do, not another care in the world. Did that kind of get in the way of business in any way sometimes?
I think it got in the way of travel a lot. We would try to move him, and people would come up, and Fred wouldn't. You couldn't get him to move because he would concentrate on the person and the time. And one of the things we heard a lot of is people who learned how to speak English watching The Neighborhood.
Because he spoke so slowly and distinct. I heard Lynn Cullen talking about that on her talk show today.
It also, Ricky Martin on a talk show that he was on said the same thing, that he learned to speak English by watching The Neighborhood.
We have a few samplings of some emails that have come in, and we'd like to take a look at some of them now, if we can put them up on the screen. I think this first one comes from Robinson, Illinois, and it says, "Mr. Rogers was a wonderful man and a wonderful role model for our children. Now I am sure he is in God's neighborhood." That's the kind of sentiment that you've been hearing about all day, right?
Yeah.
And how many do we get a second?
We're getting like 1 a second that are coming in, and it's actually not only the familycommunications.org website, the FCI.org, it's WQED.org, it's PBS Children's. It has just been overwhelming to us, just been overwhelming.
I understand it's been about 6.5 million hits from around the world, in fact. This next one comes from Memphis, Tennessee. Let's take a look at that. "It's always good to know that someone you love is loved by others, more than I can say in a letter. It saddens me that he has passed on." Again, that's the kind of feeling that we've had throughout this building the whole time. It's almost unbelievable. Newspapers everywhere, cover stories, front page. Do you think that he knew the kind of impact he had on others' lives?
In some way, I think he did, but it really is something that he didn't concentrate on. That was not important to Fred, the being a star. I think he, as Bill was talking about, I think he enjoyed talking to the child in the airport more than he would concentrate on being a television star. But on some level, I think he knew that he had an impact, but he used it for the good.
I was talking to Betsy earlier today because she's working on a project with us. Fred, I think, was more impressed with the types of people that worked around him, to have Betsy and Joe Siemens working with him. I don't think he took the work seriously, very seriously. I don't think he took himself as a person seriously, but he never considered himself a hero. He never knew what all the hoopla was about. Even the final thing he did at the Rose Bowl, I think he was just overwhelmed at the response in that parade. 5 hours, 2.5 miles, a long time, lots of people. Joanne Rogers had a quote today about he was my icon long before he was the America's icon. I mean, he would enjoy the one-on-one with Chris Moore as opposed to all the hoopla out with other people.
Right.
And the pride that he took from the people he worked with over the years was, that's what I remember.
But there was also this sense of strength that he had. We've seen the videotape of his testimony before Congress where people didn't know him. And he reduced senators, the House of Representatives, to just like, well, here's the money, sure. What is it that you need, sir? He had an inner strength through his gentleness that really changed things and changed people, I think.
Well, he also, and I'm sure people have talked about this a great deal, but his understanding of communication is something that I don't know who has a more powerful understanding of communication than what he has. And among other things, he knew that if you speak very quietly to someone, they have to be quiet to listen to you. That he had tremendous power as a communicator, both one-on-one, as everyone sitting here knows, that without ever raising his voice, he could get your full attention and your full cooperation. And he understood that about the camera. His understanding of the camera, Chris, was just phenomenal. And the crew that worked with him for so many years, they all understood that. But something very unusual in this whole world of broadcasting, I think.
And his people said, does Fred ever get angry? And no, he didn't throw a sneaker across the studio when he got angry, but he did go to the piano. You could tell when Fred was thinking about something or was really working things out. He'd go and go to the piano. You could almost tell the tone of the music, what he was feeling. And he always said that he got his anger out through his fingers, sort of a modulated way of getting angry.
I may know the answer to this question, I may not, but do you think he had heroes?
Oh, yeah.
Well, Albert Schweitzer was one.
I think one of the stories I'll never forget is that David and I used to travel a lot with him, and he was at the National Press Club. And we said to him before we left the hotel, we said, Fred, they're going to ask you final question. If you were a combination of two people, who would they be? And he said, what kind of a question is that? That's a silly question. We're going out, we're saying Fred. So David and I are sitting in the back, and he said, okay, Mr. Rogers, the final question is, if you were a combination of two people, who would it be? And he said, Albert Schweitzer and Arsenio Hall. And David and I looked at each other and said, Arsenio, where did this come from? And of course, one of the great pieces of tape is when Fred was on the Arsenio Hall show. And those two were like magic together. But you'd never know what was going to come out of his mouth.
But Fred also had this knack for accepting things gracefully. As a vegetarian, he would never wear a leather jacket. No. Arsenio Hall gave him a leather jacket, and he just put it on and it's something he would have never done personally.
Yeah. And it was very spontaneous, because when we got back to the hotel, there were phone numbers in the pocket.
It was actually Magic Johnson had given it to Arsenio Hall.
Worn it on a tape,
benefit or something.
On a tape they'd done, right.
And Fred's has it. I think he gave it to one of his sons, but it was a prized possession.
But talking about rising to the occasion,
yes.
Do either of you remember seeing him on, I think it was the Today Show with Henry Kissinger?
Oh, yes.
Fabulous.
And they asked him, well, David, you can probably tell it
I was there.
better. This was so funny, and he was so gracious under the most ludicrous circumstances.
During the holiday times, they have celebrities come to the outside of the Today Show and collect money for Toys for Tots, something like that.
And toys.
And toys. And they put these celebrities in Santa Claus hats. And the celebrities that day, and why they said yes, I don't know, were Henry Kissinger and Fred Rogers going around with
Santa hats
and a sack.
On
collecting the
Fifth
toys
Avenue.
on television. And Henry Kissinger said, well, what do I do? I do. You just, Mr. Kissinger, you just follow me. I don't think he knew why he was there.
That is tradition.
Yeah, right. That's tradition. But it was very funny. And as Betsy said,
and Fred led Henry Kissinger through
around.
and you could see it on TV. We were just at home watching it. And he sort of led Henry Kissinger out onto Fifth Avenue and explained to him and helped him.
Open the bag.
It was so funny. And Fred just carried it off without a hitch.
And Kissinger was, I think he thought he was coming there probably to be interviewed, not to wear Santa's hat. But they were both good sports. And as Betsy said, Fred and Henry both carried it off.
There's just a magic about the man that I think everybody realized. And I don't know, having been so close to him and being able to see him every day in the hall or driving out from his parking space and back and forth, if we really appreciated him as much as we do now that he's passed. And that's a shame. I don't know. He was such a magical person.
You know, one time Fred was on the David Letterman show, and the guests that night, this was when Letterman had his old show, and the guests were Fred, Julie Andrews, and Andy Kaufman. Remember the comedian, Andy, you'd never know what he's going to say. Well, outside before they taped, Andy Kaufman came up to Fred, and he was very sincere, and he said, Mr. Rogers, I love your work. And he wasn't putting him on. And so on some level, people respected and appreciated Fred. But on the other level, I think there was two waves. I don't think a lot of people understood the program. But as the years went on, I think they did. You know,
there were a lot of parodies too.
Yes.
The famous Saturday Night Live with Eddie Murphy. Do you think those were mean-spirited at all? And did Fred receive them in that way?
I know, he thought they were affectionate parodies. And as I was telling in an earlier interview, we met for, can I tell it again? We have time?
Mm-hmm.
We went up to the 8th floor of where, ironically, they taped Saturday Night Live, and that's where Fred did his first television show at 8H when he worked for NBC. To make a long story short, we went to they said his dressing room's over there. Why don't you go over and surprise him, take Fred over. So we went over and Fred knocked on the door, and the door opened and there was Eddie Murphy, and he backed up. He never expected to see Fred Rogers. And they gave Fred a big hug and said, the real Mr. Rogers, and somebody took a Polaroid and
you still have it in your office.
I still have it. That was a wonderful moment. And then Eddie Murphy would tell that story on different talk shows.
But Fred would use that as an example. He would use Eddie Murphy as not demeaning people.
Exactly.
He never felt that Eddie Murphy was demeaning him. And he would use that as an example of you can have a sense of humor and have some fun.
Was Fred ever a critic of some of the demeaning things that comics do or that television does to human beings nowadays? Because most humor nowadays that I see on TV is based on somebody else's misfortune.
Well, it started out, that's how he got into children's television in a way. He would see, back in the early 50s, people throwing pies at each other, and it was probably versions of the Three Stooges being spliced together for entertaining children, which is nothing wrong with the Three Stooges, but Fred didn't think that was appropriate for young children. And that's what he thought was demeaning, and that's what got him into children's television.
We've got less than a minute left, but I wanted to, Bill, can I start with you and go down the line? Any final words that you would say about
you
Fred?
know, when you said about the people, do you think we appreciated them? You know, I think watching 4 hours last night, it was just overwhelming how really phenomenal this man's body of work is.
Betsy?
I just think we were privileged to be in the presence and work with a great, great man.
Amen.
I feel the same way, but yesterday during the hubbub of all the calls coming in, I had about a minute to have a sandwich, and I went to the front room and had a sandwich, and then when it hit me, I remember tearing up as I was eating my sandwich and said, you know, I'll miss him. And then the phone rang, and it got me back off of that to get through the rest of the day. But I will miss him, and we'll all miss him. And there was one of a kind. There'll never be another one like him. But thank goodness we have 900 programs that we can show on public television for a long time to come.
Well, I want to thank you all for being here and sharing
Thanks,
this time with us on our
Thank you.
Thank you. It's very important.
Everybody here.
All right. Now, if you'd like to share your thoughts about Mr. Rogers or any other topic, just email us at wqed.org and follow the television links to Off Cue. There you can comment on the show or offer suggestions. Again, just thank you very much. It's been a personal journey for me too, knowing Fred Rogers 22 years and how important he was in all of our lives. Thank you very much for being here with us. Good night.
You are my friend, you are special, you are my friend, you're special to me. You are the only one like you, my friend. I like you in the daytime, in the nighttime, any time that you feel's the right time for a friendship with me, you see. F-R-I-E-N-D, special. You are my friend. You're special to me. There's only one in this wonderful world. You are special.
For more information about Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and family communications, visit fci.org on the web. For more information about WQED Multimedia, its programs and related products, visit wqed.org, or call 1-800-274-1307.